everyone, my name is Haley. I'm from Patverse Ventures, which is the first venture capital club at Mason University. And today I'm here in honor of International Women's Day, which is an annual United Nations campaign to publicize efforts to create gender inequality worldwide. This year celebrate on Friday, March 8th, 2024. The theme is Invest in Women, Accelerate Progress. So today we're going to be going around interviewing students, faculty, and staff at George Mason University. We'll be covering topics such as gender investing gap, pay parity, and percentage of venture dollar invested in women business.
Hi, my name is Summer Laughlin. I am a business major here at George Mason, and I'm a junior. As a business major, it's definitely a more male-dominated field, so I've absolutely seen some differences and things in how my fellow students are kind of treated by professors, as well as getting interviewed for internships and jobs. It does always kind of seem like they are more preferred than a female business student. For example, as the Panhellenic president of all the sororities, I've always noticed that the fraternities are always valued a lot more on campus, and people truly do see that they have more potential in things, whereas the sororities are always more organized and have a lot more philanthropic values.
Financial literacy is often cited as crucial for empowering women in many ways, economically and also educationally. So what are your thoughts on the financial education at George Mason University, and what are some things that you personally investing in?
That George Mason could do a better job at educating a lot of their students in general about financial literacy. As a business student, obviously I am a lot more well-versed and I have learned a lot more things. However, my friends that are in other majors and programs and things, they aren't as educated and well-versed in those areas, and I do think that as students we should be learning those things to move on into the world and actually be able to live in society, especially in today's culture and things of that nature. I wish that Mason would invest a little bit more time and energy, especially into the female population, because there are so many women that go to this university that have so much potential, and they could learn so much about financial literacy that would really elevate their experiences in life.
My name's Linda Sheridan, and I'm an academic advisor in the computer science department at George Mason University. Probably my biggest, the female figure in my life would be my mother. She died in 2017, but she was just, I learned so much from her. She was very grounded in life. She knew who she was. She always followed her own compass. She also had a great sense of humor and was very optimistic about life. Interestingly enough, I am not aware, at least as advisors, of gender pay gaps. Mostly advisor salaries are based upon experience in education, and I've been in the field for a long time. I'll be retiring next year after. But I think as far as George Mason goes, at least in the sector that I work in, I think that there is gender parity, and I think that's wonderful. If there is something that has a sector where there is a woman business involved, I do try to honor that. I'm thinking about in my job, in computer science, we do not have enough women in the computer science field. I try to encourage the women that come to me as students in this program to hang in there, because I think they have a bright future, and we do need more women in computer science. They didn't even have girls sports when I was in high school until the first year before my freshman year. Before that, they didn't have women's sports. My track team was the first track team.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's kind of weird, but there was just not this emphasis on parity.
Hello, my name is Ana Gonzalez Hernandez. I am term assistant professor of the computer science department. I am from Mexico. Well, my model is definitely Marie Curie, and one of the things that I admire for her is that she was twice Nobel laureate in 2 different categories, even though he was so focused in the X-ray experiment that after all he died because that.
Yes.
However, other important thing that I admire for Marie Curie is that she was the only female in a very famous photo in 1927. Was the Solvay Council Conference, and in that photo were Albert Einstein, was Heidelberg, was Schrödinger, and another important research. Oh well,
Yeah, like
she
work
was
ethic.
so smart, and I think that she is the one that told everybody with their mind, I am a woman and I am as smart as a man, and I am able to conquer the world. Though my credentials are quite good, sometimes I refer to the students as Miss Anna, and even though one time one student told me Anna. However, my college that are men, they never are referred as, for instance, Mr. and his last name. That is one of the examples. Also, another thing that I realized is that when I have this course of the students, even though I am sharing the same course with other professor that is a man, both of our has exactly the same projects. However, because this sensation that, well, she's a female, that's why the evaluations are not so fair. So my college that is a man has higher grades than me, even though we both share exactly the same project. My students say, well, projects and labs are so difficult to understand, but they are exactly the same. Why? Because I am a woman, and also because I am Mexican. Well, at least that's my sensation. I was working in one institution in Mexico. All my colleagues were men and I was the only female. However, I was not invited during the meetings. That was so unfair. Yes, there were around 15 males and me, but during the meetings I was not with them. Another thing is that there was a forum on which students were invited. All my other colleagues were in front in the panel, and I was the one that was chosen to give the microphones to the students. So these distinctions, even though I was a researcher there, I was the one put yes, the microphones, and my other colleagues that were men were the ones on the panel. I was in Sweden because I was postdoc in Sweden. So there were more than 20 applications and only one position, and I was the one that was hired to work on Sweden. It was the University of Hofte. Yeah, and I was working in a project. It was the Toxic project, and I was working also with the Swedish Institute of Technology in a project during 2 years. And after I came here. Well, sometimes when a woman doesn't have enough money to pay the quote for be involved in a university and so on, sometimes I tell, well, I really want you to be enrolled and money is not the obstacle, so I will give you the money you need to be at least or to pay 1 or 2 semesters.
That is
Hi there. My name is Lisa Shapiro. I am the Assistant Director of Entrepreneurship Programs at Mason. I work exclusively with student innovators, and faculty researchers that are looking to commercialize their innovations for society's benefit. I think Michelle Obama is a really great example for a female. I don't really know if she's in business, but she definitely has paved the way for a lot of females, especially in law. She's part of a very large nonprofit that has a lot of impact on society. And I just think she's a really good role model as someone who started out with nothing, really came from very minimal means and grew a life and created a life for herself and for her family. So I think that's super honorable. I think the most admirable trait of hers is maybe her tenacity. A person of color and a female who goes out in the world and get a law degree and just really goes forth into business and to create that life for herself. It's really hard to do that. For a young person starting out in the world, there's a lot of competition, and I think that one of the ways that a person can set themselves apart, especially for a female, to earn that high wage is through that experience and that education. Like, you need both. And I feel like there's a lot of examples, or some examples in the world, where I'll meet a man who can be 50 years old. He has no education, never attended college, but is making almost $200,000 a year. Whereas someone in his life who's twice as educated, has a master's degree, doing very high impact work, is making half that. So I feel like there are more instances of where men have found and carved out careers for themselves with no education and no experience in their industry, and they've been able to move faster through that career path than a woman would. So in terms of financial literacy, I think the hardest thing, unfortunately, is to learn by experience. I think a lot of young people go out into the world and they accumulate debt. It is the biggest mistake someone can make. And I think the best thing to do is to live within your means. So understand how much you bring in, your income, and understand how much is going out in your expenses, and live within those means. I think one of the ways to learn best about finances is to essentially figure out the things that you want, and maybe try to find a way to budget, cut back on the things that you can cut back on. Things that are fixed expenses, like your rent, you don't have control over, but you do have control over how much you spend on, let's say, groceries, even with rising costs. You do have control over how much you spend on entertainment and eating out. So eating in and cooking for yourself is going to be less expensive than dining out. So I feel like learning a lifestyle that works, where you can live within your means, so you're not accumulating debt, is the smartest a person can do as a young person. And one of the first things I did at 21 was I bought my first bit of stock. I bought stock in Dell, I bought stock in Disney, and I bought stock in Safeway, which was a very big brand back in the day. And I eventually did sell that stock, and I made a nice profit for it. But I feel like if you can do that at 21, you're understanding basic concepts of holding something that has monetary value and watching it to see as it can grow, and learning a little bit more about the stock market, when to sell, when to hold. I think it's worth looking into as a young person, even if it's a few dollars here and there where you're investing in something. You're looking to invest in something, to really do your research and make sure that you understand how volatile it is, and really understand that risk. How I've invested in women is I started a business in 2019, in January 2019. That was an organization that supported female entrepreneurs exclusively. I was the founder and CEO of that business, and I held it for about 3 years. But what I focused most in that business was to essentially support them in providing community for them, helping them understand resources that were available to them as female business owners. And some of that is not just access to funding, but helping them get customers, or to grow their revenue or sales by working with each other. It's a little bit cliche, but it's true in that the people who end up being your customer are the people who really trust you. And the best way to get someone's trust, or to garner someone's trust, is to spend time with them and to get to know them. And that happens, I think, through interaction, which is the emphasis on community.